Hello everyone, welcome to DataBit. In this video, we will give an overview. What are those key functions in Sage CRM? David, over to you.
Hello everyone, welcome along. So Susan just has a username, no password in my demo. So you can see I've logged in here, and there are a number of things to point out. Remember, this is the basic navigation session, this one, okay? If I click on calendar, so the next one across in the tab menu, second from the top, I'm taken, unsurprisingly, to the calendar. And this is my tasks and appointment information all laid out. In this particular view, it happens to be showing me the week. Moving again to the right, we look at what's called contacts. This is an area which probably should be more rightly called my contacts, the contacts that will be synchronized, that are favorite to me, or synchronized with Outlook, perhaps if I'm running Outlook integration. And this is a good way of just having that head-up display of the people who matter to me. Moving right again, leads. Leads tab would display the leads assigned to this user. Now, Susan May, being a sales manager, doesn't have any leads. Someone else in her team might have leads. But that, of course, may be configured or set up differently to you in your particular role. Susan does work with opportunities. And you can see, as I slide to the right one more, that Susan has 7 opportunities showing on the screen there. These are opportunities, sales activities. Remember, my demo data is about a company selling software and services and training. These are 7 opportunities that Susan is working on. The default filtering through these action buttons on the right can allow you to change the way that this screen appears. Right now, it's filtering on all opportunities that are in progress. If I was to change that to closed, you'd see a whole lot more. The graphical display at the top, in this case, in the form of a pipeline, allows you that head-up display to give you that visual view of the same information that's in the list below. If you click on the segments, you can also filter the list automatically. So effectively, by clicking on a colored segment, you can drive the action buttons we talked about previously that are on the right. If you don't like that graphic, you can also switch it off. And the system administrator at large can decide whether that graphic is available to everyone at all. So you'll also see that I have a new opportunity button in the action buttons on the right-hand side. Now, I, Susan May, see this because I have rights, user rights, to create new opportunities. If I didn't have them, then the button would be hidden from me. I've skipped over the forecast tab and I want to look at cases, and I'll talk about forecast a bit later on. Like leads, Susan doesn't have any cases assigned to them. Susan is a salesperson, and in her world, she doesn't get to deal with cases. Now, in your world, you might have that configured differently. You might believe that cases and seeing cases from your top customers is an important thing, and that's something you can set up as well. Forecast. Now, this user is a salesperson, and I've clicked back onto forecast. This is where Susan would have access to her forecast, and indeed, if she's running a team of people, her own team's forecast. And I'll talk about forecast in a later session because it really needs a section of its own. So I'll leave this empty for the time being. Shared documents. Here you can see I've clicked on what's called a shared documents area. Now, shared documents, think of it as a library that contains documents that a user might need. Maybe terms and conditions, maybe your brochure, maybe a manual. Things that are useful in day-to-day context, corresponding with customers, internal staff members, etc. And I often think this shared documents area is sometimes something that people don't really give the love to that they should. Because I'm sure you can all relate to trying to track down the latest copy of a price list or the latest brochure or checking which is the latest one. Well, if you manage your shared documents in this way, in this system, you can make sure that everyone knows exactly what the latest things are. I've talked a bit about preferences before. This is where an individual user can control much of their experience of the system, how the pages look, do they see the pipelines, those sorts of things. Now, I'll talk about this area in detail in a later session too. Just know it's there and know that you can manage it. And finally, the last tab to click on in the My CRM Group area is the Groups tab. I'll look at it towards the end of this session a bit later, that is, but you can see this is where we'll be able to create a set or list of data that match different criteria that can be used primarily for marketing purposes or direct mailing or anything like that. So I'll close that and let's go and have a look at a few of the more main menu options at the top. So back up to the very top of the screen we go. If I hover over, I should say, to Team CRM, I've got a different set of menus available to me there. Let's go and have a look at calendar. Here, I'm looking at the diary that contains all the work for the people in my team. So again, I have to have the user rights to do this, but in my example, I am set up. I do have the user rights available to see my team's calendars. And this rolls up all their activity in the same format you saw earlier, but this time looking at it in the context of the team. Similarly, if I click on opportunities, so I'm still in the team context. If you look at the blue icon in the top left corner, I'm in the teams context. I'm seeing the opportunities tab this time, and I'm getting that same view you saw earlier, pipeline and then textual information underneath, but this time, it's about my team. Previously I had 7, I think from memory. Now I'm seeing the 45 opportunities that my team are running. But it looks and works and operates in the same manner. The list I've been showing you on these screens are green, and that means they're hyperlinked. And the hyperlinks are everywhere in the system, and they can be extended or pulled back depending on how you want to use the system in your own individual context. So if I click on that link, keep your eye on the top left corner, because what happens is we move from the context of my CRM to the context of a company. So this context now reflects this move to the record Bank of Colliers. Notice too how the other parts of the screen have changed. For example, the top content now shows me summary information about this company. Previously, it was about me. What am I in, my name, those sorts of things. Similarly, the tab menu, the horizontal menu, second from the top, has changed to reflect the context of being in a company record. So all these, however many there are there, starting with summary, which is highlighted with the green bar underneath, reflect lots and lots of detail about the company. This rich data set you can now pull in for a company. Who are they, what are we talking about, and so on. This means, for example, if I click on the Opportunities tab, I can see only those opportunities belonging to this company. This is contextually relevant to the Bank of Colliers. They have one opportunity that we're running for them right now. Similarly, if I click on the Person tab or People tab, I see the details of the contacts I have within this company. And if I click on the name Jacqueline Downs, I'm changed to the hyperlink, or I click through the hyperlink and I'm changed to the context of the person, and I see their details. And again, the tab menu is slightly different from the one we saw on the previous screen. And this tab menu, although much or many of the options are the same, they in fact display information about the person, not the company. So there's rich filtering going on, the communications, the opportunities, the cases, the addresses for this person. For example, if I click the Opportunity tab, here are the opportunities for this person in the company. So I could be running multiple opportunities for Bank of Colliers, but I've only got one for Jacqueline. Some of the cells in the grid, when you hover over them, also have tooltip information, which rolls up some even more useful summary information. Just saves you having to drive too far through the system when you're just looking for snapshot information. However, in this case, I am going to click on this opportunity and go into the record itself. And again, keep your eyes on the top content area, context area, as we go into the next screen. We're looking now at the summary of the opportunity. And you'll see how, if you look at the top left green icon with the arrow, and next to that, we've drilled in. We're in Bank of Colliers, about Jacqueline Downs, looking at a particular opportunity called Timex5 Lead that is peculiar and attached to Jacqueline at this company. Now, every screen we've been through, you've probably noticed on the right-hand side, there have been mostly the chance to have or make use of action buttons. And they change too, depending on the screens they're in. Typically, they offer the ability to edit the data or move it on, change it in some way. Here, I could click change, and that gets me into edit mode. If I go into edit mode, I can do things. Similarly, the entities, happen to be an opportunity right now, can also be driven or operated upon using workflow. Workflow is built into the product. Again, something for a later session. And here you can see how that's presented to a user. So the context, small c context here, is in this opportunity. It's at a certain stage. If you look in the bottom left area there, proposal submitted, in progress, and based on those certain values, then the actions available to me on the right-hand side are made up of three. In this case, qualify, proposal, submit, reassign. We'll talk more about workflow later on, but this idea, just keep in mind that anytime you want the system to help users along, or mandate, depending on how you operate, based on time. So for instance, the quote's been outstanding for 3 days, we need to do something more with it, or maybe value or anything else, you can use the workflow engine to change things and move things along. So now we've looked at several records in quite quick succession: an opportunity record, a summary of a company, and the person. And I can use the recent list that I called out earlier to quickly return to any of the records I looked at. And you'll see how now I have a summary of Bank of Colliers, I have an opportunity called Time X5, which we looked at, and Jacqueline at the bottom there. So you can see then how the recent list comes to life based on where you've been and what you've been doing. It helps pick up the breadcrumbs, if you like, a trail of breadcrumbs for your recent user experience. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on Bank of Colliers actually, and you see how quickly it just takes me straight back to where I was. If I wanted to return to a previous screen, I can also use the browser's back button. So you've got all that control as well. It gets you straight back to where you were. So you've got both recent list on the right and the ability to use the normal browser buttons to go back and forward in time. And if I do that, you see I'm back in the opportunity summary screen there. Sage CRM runs, I mentioned this at the top of the show here, in browsers. It always has done. And we offer multi-browser support. So whether you're a Safari user, a Chrome user, a Firefox, an Edge, or old Internet Explorer user, it's all fine. You can use the screen. I touched on the action buttons earlier. Throughout the screens, you'll see many of these action buttons have little underscore symbols on their labels. H in change, O in continue, R in report. This means this is a hotkey or an accelerator, if you will, that's associated with it. So if you have users who prefer to work with keystrokes, like me, it's a good way of just getting to things even faster without having to bother about the mouse. So I've gone back into time, into the dashboard, the My CRM area where we first started off. And I want to show you how you'd find things. And I want to look particularly right now for a company. Up the top right there is this search area. Quick find searches across all entities at once. It returns all records containing the specified words in any text, email, or URL field that's in the system. The words can appear in any order within a record and across more than one field. So for example, if I typed my favorite company again, Eurolandia, as soon as I get more than 2 letters going, it will come back with anything it thinks it knows about. So it's saying, oh, I've got a number of different communication records here for you. I've got a quote, I've got a business address, I've got a company record, I've got email, etc. So you can keep typing and narrow it down. And when you click on any of the returned entries, so I clicked on the company one there, you're taken straight back to Eurolandia, the company record. But if you clicked on the email, you'll be taken to the email and so on. Keyword search. This allows you to search for keywords across all text fields on an entity and associated entities. Keyword search uses any words as its search technique. You can use part of a search term combined with a special character even to narrow the search. There's a full list of these special characters in the help as well, by the way. So let's have a look at one of these. So I've clicked keyword search and I'm going to type in, and have typed in, I should say, asterisk, OPE asterisk. What I'm aiming to do here is find all records containing the words Europe and open in any text field. And what we'll do is we'll also search across all entities. So highlighted everything. And you'll see when I click find, the results are presented to me in entity format. So the results are summarized in the middle of the screen. There are 3 cases, 8 communications, 9 companies. Again, the green indicating there are hyperlinks there, so it's quick, one click, boom, straight to the record. Ah, that's the one I want, in I go. The reason for the highlight in the top left corner, that little star. If this is an important record to you, you may wish to come back to it, you may add it to your favorites, you can click on the star and you'll make it a favorite. How lucky they'll be. So that brings us to the end of today. Hope to see you again next time.